All right, welcome back for the first of the live Taking Notes with Dr. Jon Carroll on YouTube podcast. And I am so excited that my first guest is a do everything performer, philanthropist, teacher, life coach, sister friend, badass workout demon, the great Maud Arnold of the Syncopated Ladies, coming up next on Taking Notes with Dr. Jon Carroll. Stay tuned. All right, so we've been chit-chatting. Now we can do this for real. I like to start with, because this is an educational show, how do you start out in education? What is your educational background?
So my educational background, I started in kindergarten. I did not go to Montessori. My brother and my sister went to Montessori.
Okay.
I did not. I was the third child that just left me out.
Had to do something different.
Yeah, well, I just didn't do anything. I ran around the house and just talked to everybody. But so I did kindergarten. But what's interesting about after kindergarten, from 1st to 6th grade, I went to a public French immersion elementary school in Maryland. I'm from D.C. And then for high school, and then I went to a regular middle school, public school. And then for high school, I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts in D.C.
Famous?
Very famous.
Isn't that where Chappelle went?
Sure is.
Where they wanted to name the studio after him, and he was...
Yeah, it was the theater. They wanted to name... So Peggy Cooper K-Fritz, who founded the school with Mike Malone, they both since passed. Peggy Cooper wanted to name the new theater after Dave Chappelle, and I was all for it.
Right.
As an alum. And then...
Kids are like, nah.
A lot of the kids were like, nah. So Dave was like, hey, let's do this. Donate to the theater. If you want it in my name, say that. If you don't want it in my name, say that. And whoever donates the most money, like, let's do it like that. Because Dave is all about giving back to the school. I sent my little $150 in, and I was like, name it after Dave Chappelle. Anyways, I don't know if it helped at all, but it ended up being named after him. He is our most famous alum.
There you go. So here's the question, because you are a creative. You are known for all things creative, not just the tap dancing and things. Where does that come into the school part? Were there great educational programs within your school, or were you pursuing that outside of school?
So I was really lucky because I went to a Montgomery County public school, which is like one of, I don't know now, but at the time it was one of the best school districts in the nation. And my mom was actually a English composition assistant at MCPS high school. Okay. So my mom is insanely intelligent. She's from France, but she's extremely well read. When she was in her teens, like her later teens, she met a bunch of Black college students who had been studying in Paris. So she also became very well versed in like Black history, civil rights movement, and all that stuff. So my mom, we grew up with, remember the old encyclopedias? Like we had those.
I had a whole set.
Had the whole set. We had books. I mean, there were books abound. My mom like hoards books. She still does. And so it was, education wasn't just at school, it was our whole life, and everything was a learning experience and an opportunity to learn. So my mom, she made us voracious readers. We had to read every day for 20 minutes. But then, you know, when you start to read for 20 minutes, you just fall into it for however long. Right. Thank goodness we didn't have social media because we didn't have that distraction. Correct. I did love TV, though. I was a TV addict. They called me TV Guide because I knew the time everything came on and what channel.
You had to back then.
You had to, but I also think it's because I just learned how to read and I learned how to remember and retain things. And so I had incredible teachers. I still remember my first grade teacher's name. But I would say in 4th grade, I had a teacher. She was from Haiti. Her name was Madame Salomon, and she was a chemist and then turned teacher. And she was this incredible Black woman. She was my first Black school teacher. And she had so much energy and was so excited. And every day we came in and there was an affirmation on the chalkboard for the week. And sometimes it would be like Kwanzaa, like Kuji Chagalia, and it would always be in French, something, you know, and that was, always set intentions. That woman changed my life. As an educator now, when I think about it, like setting an intention, we're talking, this is 30 years ago. She was so ahead of her time and making us write it every day in your notebook. When you had to like start writing something, at the top, you had to write whatever the affirmation was for the week. And so she changed my life. And then I had a teacher in 5th grade who was horrific. And he changed my life because he taught me how to stand up for myself. And he was so mean to me, which also defines how I educate. I remember I was talking in class. No surprise there. But not like while he was talking. He was like helping some student. We were supposed to be quiet. We were supposed to be like studying our math or whatever. And I was like whispering to a kid, da-da-da-da-da. And he said to me in front of the whole class, something like, you need to shut up. This was in French though, because I was French immersion. He said, you need to shut your mouth. This is in French. You need to shut your mouth. That's why you failed. Said, oh my God, it was so long ago. He said something. He said, ferme ta gueule, ça c'est pourquoi tu as raté l'examen du mathématique. And I was like, and this is in front of the class. It's 5th grade. And so I shot back in French and I was like, j'ai raté l'examen parce que tu es un mauvais professeur. And I said, I failed the test because you're a bad teacher. And I like went back and I was nervous. And I remember it was like the first time I was like, and I said it in French, all like, and he was like, leave my classroom right now. And he said, you're a horrid child. I remember. He said, go to the principal's office. I said, au revoir. I grabbed my little book and I left. I went to the principal's office. And I was like, and they called my mom, because also my mom taught in the school district, so everybody knew her. So she came and I told her what happened. And my mom's not the mom that's like, she's like, what did you do? And I was like, this is what he said to me. And I was like, this is what I said back. And my mom was like, good, you should defend yourself. She was like, because nobody should tell you, shut up, shut your mouth. And she said, and he should not have tried to embarrass you in front of your classmates.
Right.
That's not good education. You could just tell me, be quiet,
That's
like stop
parenting.
talking. So my mom told the principal, she was like, she needs to move to the other 5th grade class. She will not be in that man's class anymore.
Ooh, did they go with that?
They did. My mom's white. When white women are angry.
So are you insinuating there was some privilege involved?
My principal was black. He wasn't the greatest, but he was a brother. Shout out. But
There's a black principal at the French immersion school. Okay, I get it now. This is why.
But you know what was
Rich
interesting?
background.
But this was interesting, and this was really messed up. You look at things like back in the school was half French immersion, half we would call it the regular kids.
Okay.
That's horrible. Like as an adult, I would never say that. And those were the neighborhood. They were the neighborhood school, and it was not in a great part of Maryland.
Okay.
So it was mostly low income.
Gotcha.
Mostly black kids. I was one of the few black kids on the French side. And the way they divided it, when I think about it, I'm like, this was like low key like segregation. And even the way that they like kind of framed where the hallways were. We did have recess at the same time. But I remember the first boy I had a crush on in elementary school was named Terrence. And I called Terrence's house phone. Who was I in like 2nd grade? And I'm like,
You were calling boys' house in 2nd grade?
I sure was.
Wow.
I don't know what to talk about, but I just called. I think because
Did you
I
have to
had
get
older
past the parents?
siblings.
Because that was the thing.
Yeah, you always.
A practice long dead.
Hello, Miss, whatever the last name
Yes.
was. May I please speak to Terrence? This is Maud Arnold.
And you had all that in 2nd grade.
Yes.
That's impressive.
It was crazy. So I have older siblings though, so I just learned how to like speak and talk and be around people. But my mom did switch me to the other 5th grade class, and it was great. And every time I saw that teacher, I remember his name. His name was Mr. Miller. Every time I saw him on the hallway, I would like ice grill him like a little thug. And so that was a defining moment for me in my education too. And to be a future educator, I never thought that I would be a teacher in any capacity. I thought I was just like, I want to be a lawyer or a firefighter.
Broadcast. You got that part.
Yeah.
Checkbox.
Checkbox. Like Oprah, I was like, I want to be like Oprah. I really didn't even understand what she did. I just knew she got to talk to people, and I thought that was the coolest thing.
So did being called a horrid student, that's what got you into dancing?
No, I had been dancing this whole time.
Oh, we didn't get to that
Oh,
part
sorry.
yet.
So I started dancing when I was like 4. My mom put me in like a little strip mall dance where we do like tap, ballet, jazz. Because my sister, Chloe, she's 6 years older. She went there, so my mom put me in. I was terrible. I was lazy. I would be chewing gum in class. We have like home videos of me from the dance classes. I'm on stage like chewing gum. I was cute. I was very cute. I would like in the class, they have these little things you used to like jump over. They would put like a witch's hat during Halloween. You're supposed to go and like leap over it. I would run up to it, look at it, and run around it. Like I was, you would never look at my home videos and be like, she's gonna be somebody one day in this field. Not at all. And then we left that studio because my mom was like, this studio owner is racist. she always puts Chloe in the back. Chloe was actually good. She always
Okay.
puts Chloe in the back, and she never challenges Chloe. So when my mom challenged the studio owner, she was like, no, da-da-da-da. My mom was like, nope. So my mom opened the Washington Post, and she found another place for my sister to go train and tap dance. And then so I moved as well. My greatest tap dance teacher, she too sadly passed. Her name was Miss Toni Lambre.
Okay.
She had been on Broadway. She left Broadway. She had injured herself, and then she left Broadway and opened a dance studio called Taps and Company in DC with her best friend, Miss Dana. Miss Dana volunteers for the Chloe and Maud Foundation to this day.
I love that.
And Miss Toni did too until she passed. And it was just a small one-room dance studio. We did everything in there.
Of course.
Used sweat, tears, dance, learned about sisterhood, learned about loving yourself, learned about self-esteem, learned about hygiene. I mean, and we talk about education, and so often we just think about academics, but like that dance education is why I am who I am. Why those women I danced with since I was 7 years old, when I go home to DC, they're still my closest friends. One is a top pediatrician at Children's National. One runs two of the largest and most successful dental practices in DC. One lives in Tanzania now and advises African presidents on a $300 million energy plan. We all grew up tap dancing together, and they all still tap dance.
Okay, so on that, because I saw where you and your sister did an interview, and clearly we're all the same, age and generation, because you talked about seeing the movie Tap.
Yes.
With Gregory Hines, and that being like a motivator. Now, if you saw Tap, and anybody who wants to dance, appreciate dance, should see it, because it's like all the greats. To this day, if I see my brothers and sisters, there's certain things that we say from that movie, we know. But not a lot of women in the movie, right? So it's like Gregory Hines, it's Savion Glover, who's the, child genius. There's Sandman Sims. There's not a lot of women. So where do you start to find that influence and find the sisterhood that you're talking about in the tap space and sustain it? Because I imagine, given that depiction, it's largely male dominated.
Yes. Well, like in any industry, there's misogyny and there's patriarchy. And unfortunately, tap dance has the same problems. What's amazing about when you know yourself and you love yourself, you really become unstoppable. Particularly when I have a real sister, Chloe, who's my blood sister, and then I have like these incredible women who are my sisters. And what's interesting is Gregory Hines, rest in peace, was a huge advocate for women in tap. And he was like, go, go, go. Before he passed, I remember my sister called me. I was living in DC, and he had come to a tap jam at Debbie Allen Dance Academy. Shout out to Miss Allen. And she danced in the circle, and she said Gregory Hines came to jam with them, and at the end was like, you inspire me. That changed Chloe's life. Changed her life. She was like, I inspired Gregory Hines. And she was like, we laugh about it now. She's like, I don't even think I was that good. She's like, but what he said, and again, educators, mentors, she said, what he said changed my life because it gave me so much more fire and self-esteem. Debbie Allen and her sister, Felicia Rashad, I mean, just the greatest mentors. I won the lottery in mentorship, truly. Miss Allen was always like, y'all need to do you. You need to do what brings you joy. There's no reason you can't do tap how you want to do it. Do it to the contemporary music you want to do it to. And she was very adamant and really encouraged us to study film in college. Because she's like, that's how you're going to get your voice out there. Because, she directed Fame. She choreographed it. She started as a choreographer, but then ended up directing it, producing it, executive producing it, then going on to do A Different World, And so she was like, learn film, because then you control your own narrative. And so she was definitely like give us the confidence and free space to do it at her studio. Because people be giving you advice and with nothing to stand on.
Right.
I mean, shout out to Debbie Allen, who is the mentor of all mentors. I lived with her every summer in high school because I was on scholarship at her dance studio. I've driven her cars. This woman has bought me food. She has cooked for me. She has when she becomes your mentor, it is a 360. It is full throttle. It is, I can call her at any time. And even if she can't answer, she'll text and be like, I can't answer. I'm on set, honey. You okay? Like, I'm so blessed. And she has the best advice. She leads by example. And she really is excellence. And she's Black excellence, but she really is just excellence. She's a Renaissance woman.
Oh, absolutely. Like, she is someone who we will be studying her legacy, all of the output across all of the genres, you know, if not already happening, that should definitely happen. Like, she is part of the canon in so many ways. But for the people, fill in the backstory of how you win that mentor lottery, because you're in DC. She's out here doing all the things you talked about, fame, costs, different world. Start
paying and sweat.
That's so iconic.
I mean, she's such an icon. She's the best. First of all, Debbie Allen is really big into education. I don't know if you know,
she started a school.
Yeah, she has school here. I go in and volunteer for the kids sometimes.
I gave enough pennies that I got invited to the first graduation.
Oh, how do they do? Aren't they cute?
They're amazing. They're super talented. It is what you would expect from anything that Debbie Allen touches. You know, these little savants, dancers, just doing the thing. And having the opportunity to engage in the conservatory model as middle schoolers. You can only imagine where they will land. Because you didn't have that, right? Like, you weren't in that type of setting in middle school.
No, not in middle school, just in high school. And it's interesting because, well, shout out to Bobby, who's the principal there at the middle school.
Yes.
So Debbie, Deborah Allen, Miss Allen, her
Finish that story first, then we'll come forward.
So her mom, did you know that her mom is a Pulitzer Prize winning poet?
I do, because I was a fan of all things Allen, because Cosby Show, fame, like, yeah.
I love that. You're a real one, and you know about tap. I love this.
Yeah.
So they are huge in regards to education. You know, they went to Howard.
Yep.
So like when Miss Allen wrote me a recommendation for Columbia, which I got into, and I wrote my college essay for Columbia at Debbie Allen Dance Academy because I didn't have a computer. Like, so when you're talking about like when we're thinking about spaces and art spaces, well, there were computers there. I didn't have a computer at home. I did it at data, you know? And it's because she opens up the space and really treats you like family and makes you feel welcomed into that space. So the way I met her was she used to be the resident artist at the Kennedy Center. And she would come and do these kids plays every year. And you would audition, and there was like 1,000 to 1,500 kids auditioning.
What is the one that got turned into a very famous picture book? Is it Brothers of the Night?
That. I was in Brothers of the Night.
Which was one of those Kennedy Center plays, right?
Yes.
There we go.
Chloe was in Brothers of the Night first. But funny enough, when we first auditioned for her, we both got cut. We weren't good enough. And that's okay, because guess what we did? We went home and trained.
You had to go back and work.
And then you got a year later, Chloe made it. I didn't make it again. It's okay. I was younger. It's fine. Younger.
It's all good. More time.
But then because Miss Allen would be there for like an extended period of time, her kids would be there a lot. And so I became really close friends with her son. So me and Thump, Norm Nixon, who's a great comedian now, we became like this because he would be in D.C. and Chloe was hanging out with Vivian, her daughter, who's still like my sister now, who's now the executive director of Debbie Allen Dance Academy, by the way. But so we became like family. And then years later, I auditioned for Brothers of the Night and I got in, and I was Miss Allen's understudy because she was the star of the show. Her name was Sunday in the show. I love that. I still remember the songs from the show. So this is now a 30-year mentorship. And you know, really Chloe stayed in great touch.
It's not even mentorship. You're what I call like village.
It's
like,
village.
You're very much in her village. Okay.
Yeah, like I always thought if I get married, I want her or her sister to officiate the wedding. Like that's, you know, like those are the kinds of, like they are family.
Because that says something. Because as a married person, like you want somebody at that altar who can speak over you and your partner, if not both of you, and really make it that much more special. So.
And somebody who really knows you. I mean,
Correct.
She's known me since I was a child. She has seen me through the, you know, all of the things. And so, and now, I mean, it's the best. She said, this was like, it made me cry. I was on an Instagram live and She was on Instagram Live reading to children during pandemic. She would do these lives and read children's books.
Yep.
And I found myself watching them because she's just the best. And then she saw that I was on, and she's like, "Mom, get on the live, child." So I get on the live, and I'm like, "Hey, Miss Allen," and she's like, telling her followers, "This is Maud and her sister Chloe, and then she said, "You guys are my dream come true." And I was like, and for Debbie Allen to say that to you, and because she also is not a liar, she don't be lying, so for her to say that, I mean, she really believes it. And it's crazy because I live my dream life because of Debbie Allen, because she has showed us and invested. Look, I'm getting emotional.
Oh, that's good. That's good for the first time on live. I'm really getting my Roy Firestone right here. It's
and
great.
I'm not even a crier.
It's great. It's great. All right, well, we'll get you off of a crying topic because I'm now interested, given all that you said, right? So you're at Duke Ellington, which conservatory model. So now you're effectively doing the same thing. You're dancing. But you go to Columbia. Why not Juilliard? Why not NYU? Because they have performing arts stuff.
Yeah.
Go to the Ivy Leagues, Exactly.
Well, a few things. One, I did a program in my junior year of high school called the Juilliard Experience, and it was basically for like kids of color to go, and you get to experience Juilliard for a week. They like handpicked kids, and no shade to Juilliard. I was like, I absolutely do not want to go here at all. This is awful. For me, I was like, this is not what I want to do at all.
What didn't hit?
I just felt like, and again, this was 20 years ago. All the students felt so burnt out because we stayed in a dorm for like 4 days for the week, and all of the students just seemed so burnt out, and I didn't feel like they got to experience New York City because they were so enthralled in the work on campus that I was like, they might as well be in Montana. Like, why even be in New York? And of course, things maybe have changed since then. And shout out to Alicia Graff, who's one of my close dear friends who went to Columbia as well, and who was the first Black dean of dance for Juilliard. But she's about to leave though to go run Alvin Ailey.
History.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We're literally, and it's crazy because my friends are the ones like creating and changing, making history. It's amazing. But I just felt, and I also felt like the arts programming was so Eurocentric. And I was coming from Duke Ellington, where a lot of it was kind of like, ballet and da-da-da-da-da. But it was still very Black and had soul. And I felt like Juilliard, for me, didn't have any soul. And so I was like, no, thank you. And
so
then,
no hip-hop point at Juilliard back then?
And no tap.
None?
No. And the funny thing is that week I actually didn't even do dance. I did the theater track. I did the theater.
Because you already knew.
I don't know. They like, I think once you got picked, you got to choose. And I was like, I'm going to do theater. Because I knew there was no tap. And they were like so ballet centric, and that's not my strong point. So I was like, I want to do theater. Because at Duke Ellington, I had switched to musical theater major. And I just was like, this is not inspiring.
So then where do you find your outlet when you're at Columbia?
Oh, I mean,
in the underground.
When I was at Columbia, and also the reason Columbia, well, one, my sister went there and I loved it because I would always go like visit her. I felt like I was a student at Columbia when I was like 13, and Columbia gave better need-based scholarship. Like on, just keeping it 100. NYU.
Pay attention, kiddos. You got to play the financial game when you go into college.
NYU gives terrible scholarships. They give merit scholarships. And I like the Ivy League model more of like, well, if you're here, you have it. It's merit already, and then it's need based. And I'm mad because I graduated the year before. I would have gone completely for free because of what my mom made, because of my mom's income. But so that's why. But when I was at Columbia, I street performed in Union Square. I street performed in the train stations. I street performed in Times Square.
Wait, time out. Are we talking? You got the wood board and
Yep.
you got a hat.
We had a bucket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure we got the right visuals for the people.
Oh, we are street performing. Me
Gotcha.
and my homegirl Dolores Sanchez. She taught me the ropes.
Okay, and what is the act?
We tap dance.
But do you have a thing to attract the crowd?
We're just good.
Okay, so
We're just good.
shows at 5. We're on at 5, and then people.
No,
gather
we
as
would
they gather.
literally. She would like call me and be like, "Hey, girl, you want to hit?" We would say hit.
Okay.
And sometimes we would hit with our homie Maurice. Reese, who is a djembe player. You want to hit at 3:00 tomorrow? Bet. See you there. Traipse down the subway stairs with our tap floors. It was not glamorous.
No.
And then sometimes argue with police. They'd be like, you don't have a permit. And I'd be like, somebody's probably getting like robbed or shot right now. You should go handle that. It makes you such a G when you're like street performing as a woman. You know what else I learned is that those men who play chess in Union Square, yes. I used to think they were like homeless and poor. They have so much money. They would come drop 20s because they're just hustling people all day because they're like chess savants.
Yes, of course.
I had no idea. But they would be like, we see y'all, construction workers. We were there when they were building Union Square up. Construction workers all the way at the top. They would come down at the end of the day. We saw y'all earlier. Drop 5, drop 10. We could each make $70 in 30 minutes. Yeah.
Nice.
It was amazing. And so I did that. I also taught dance. I took dance classes. I was at the club all the time, just dancing. I don't drink alcohol and I don't smoke, and I never did. So I was just dancing all the time at the club. And then I also tutored kids at Columbia. So it was how I made money to eat and survive. But then I was also practicing my craft.
Love it.
I booked a gig modeling for a Neiman Marcus thing once from street performing.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
And straight modeling, or you were in like some kind of tap motif situation?
No, I was just I was like in these pajamas. Uh-huh. Not negligee, like real like pudge, like fully covered pajamas. Yeah. It was great. He was like, you have an interesting look. And I was like, is this some creep man? Nope, it was real. It was awesome.
So you finished Columbia.
Uh-huh.
Are you ready to be a professional, or do you try to get a 9 to 5?
9 to 5 was never on the
horizon.
Never. Because also, in addition, while I was also in school, left this out. I was a film major. I also was a production assistant on like so many music videos in New York. I was an intern at Lil X, now X, had a whole floor office space, and then Benny Boom rented from him, Juwan Lee rented from him, and I was Juwan Lee's intern, and so I worked on all types of music videos, because at the time, those were the good ones.
Benny Boom, Lil X, like when
yeah.
See, people don't understand.
They don't know.
When videos used to drop back in the day. Like, that was a thing.
It was a big deal. And I was working on, like, Lil Wayne videos at 19, 20 in college. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing.
Which became, like, short films.
They were, because the Lil Wayne one we did, Hustler Music, that was, a 4-day shoot. And that's, like, a whole short film. Yeah. And I did that as well. So I have had many a job. I've had a job since I was 8 years old. I used to sweep hair in a barbershop and help my mom pay rent. Like, I'm not shy of hard work. Mm-hmm. And I think, so when I graduated, I was like, I don't want a 9 to 5. I had this internship though with the music videos, and then I had met this incredible woman named Inga Veronique, and she hired me as her personal assistant. Inga represented music video directors, so I learned how to be a personal assistant to her, and it was like very part-time, and she paid me, and I learned so much. And then I started teaching dance, and when you could teach dance, I think I was making like $50 an hour, and I taught maybe like 10 hours a week. And I was still street performing. But I was like, I don't want a 9 to 5. Bore, snore. And all my friends who graduated from Columbia, for the most part, were making so much money, working in finance, consulting, da-da-da-da-da. And sometimes I would be like, I could be rich right now. And then I would see them and they'd be like, I'm miserable. And, shout out to my sister who had come to LA and was living with Miss Allen and then became her producer of all of her fundraisers and events. Mm-hmm. And Christmas 2008, me and Chloe were sitting, and Chloe was like, we should start a company. We should do something. I'm like, okay, what should we do? She's like, let's do a tap festival in DC. It's like, bet, we have no money. I ain't got no money. We had Chloe's credit card and a prayer. And because I also had credit card debt, and I graduated from college, my credit score was 517. I remember. Ooh, child. And
were there any spring breaks on that credit card? That's how college kids used to pay for spring break.
It was food.
All food.
It was food and taxis, I wasn't like taxing all the time, but like when I went to the club, my mom was like, don't take the train in the middle of the night.
Right. She had to take a taxi home.
Also, I blame the credit card companies because they gave me a credit card at 18 with a
Predatory.
$5,500 limit and 24% APR. Predatory. It's a joke.
Predatory.
And then you just like
and you walk by as a college freshman like, what? Credit card for a T-shirt?
And a little teddy bear with a little Columbia thing on it.
Yeah, you're there.
Just scammed. Yeah. It should be illegal.
Yeah.
And I got caught in that debt and all that stuff. But I just was like, no 9 to 5. And so I just kind of hustled and I had fun. So then we started our DC Tap Festival. We were like, okay, if we have 50 people come, we will like break even and we're going to do a little show in the studio and we're going to ask all of our friends to teach and as favors. Well, we had 250 people. We ended up having to get a real theater for the show, sold out a 900-seat theater. And they were like, oh, wow. I think we each made like $500. You know, but considering, because, once things start to scale, then things get more expensive. And now we just celebrated the 16th annual DC Tap Fest, and it's the largest tap dance festival in the world.
And people come from all over.
All over. 15 countries in almost every state.
And hopefully you make a little bit more than 500.
You know what? Actually, we don't. We actually lose money on it because we had to scale so big and we need a corporate sponsor. We also have the largest scholarship. We've given, in the last 10 years, we've given over $1.5 million in scholarships to dance programming via our programmings. So we need a corporate sponsor. And yeah, no, I actually lose money on DC Tap Fest. It was fully volunteer. It's one of those things that when I'm planning it, and it is so much work. Yeah. It's like 500 people coming from all over. And I'd be like 2 weeks out, I'm like, I hate it. I hate this. You know, you're like,
yeah, I'll never do this again.
You know, because people see all the glamorous, like I'm dancing and I'm on Ellen with Pharrell and I'm, you know, and all that is amazing. But then they don't see me at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like, Lord, please let this grant go through. Or like it doesn't go through. And then you're like, well, we're going to figure it out anyways. And then always right when I'm never going to actually quit. But when I'm like on the like complain mode to Chloe, because I actually don't believe in complaining, but I'm like, why do we do this? It is so much work and we're losing money. And then I get a message from a kid. It's all the universe knows. Miss Maud, I just want to say I am so excited for DC Tap Fest. It's the only place I've ever made friends dancing. And I'm like, golly.